Eric, you've been warning of something called a new Islamic caliphate. What is that, and why do you believe it's closer to becoming a reality?
This is a term that every one of our viewers need to know because they're going to be hearing it more and more in the months to come. What the Islamic caliphate is basically, Charlene, a union, if you can imagine it, of every Islamic nation into one all-powerful military, economic, political force. Now there's some 57 Islamic nations in the world, so you can imagine how strong this so-called caliphate would be. The last time we saw it was in 1924. It was disbanded back then. The Turkish Ottoman Empire led the last caliphate.
What is there that has caused you to be deceived about your ever-generous Lord? How can you be deceived? What can possibly change this reality that all of us know? The only way to attain tranquility is through the worship of Allah, is by turning to Allah, is by making Allah the ultimate goal and destination. We all know this. Then why is it that we turn away from this path? Why is it that this world can seduce us away from this path? Oh mankind, what is there that has caused you to be deceived about your Lord? Has not the time come, my dear brothers and sisters, for our hearts to become soft at the remembrance of Allah and at the Quran and at hearing about Allah and His Messenger? Has the time not come that our hearts turn to Allah and that we become better Muslims? My dear brothers and sisters, how many khutbahs will it take? How many lectures must you be told? Don't you understand? Don't I understand? If I don't change now, if you don't change now, this is a plot from Shaitan never to change. There is no tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. Every day has another tomorrow. And the time will come when for you and me, there will be a day where there will be no tomorrow. If we keep on saying, tomorrow I'll start praying, tomorrow I'll be a better Muslim.
Online, whether it be Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr or any other form of social media that somebody might use. So a few ayat I wanted to share with you. The first one is Surah number 4, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 131. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, most definitely we have firmly commanded. And the word that comes from wasiyah, which means like a last will, a last bequest, a dying request. And the purpose here is being metaphorically used to give the emphasis that this is some serious advice, that if you don't remember anything else ever, remember this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that some of the most important advice that we gave to the people of the book that came before, the people that were given the book before you, and we're giving you the same advice as well, is that always be conscious of Allah. Always think of Allah. Always remember Allah. Always know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly watching you. And He hears all, He knows all, He sees all. That you never leave the dominion of Allah. You never exit the jurisdiction of Allah.
Al-Andalus.
You are always under
This is an
Allah.
Arabic word. And it means something to the effect of to become green at the end of summer. Among the products that were introduced into the West through Al-Andalus, I'll name a few of these products to you. Cotton, paper, glass mirrors, street lamps, salt, colored glass, silk, satin, pepper, cinnamon, handkerchiefs, deodorant, kerosene, linen, firearms, cotton balls, paper money, postage stamps, book binding, clocks, ceramic tiles, nitric acid, soap, astrolabes, compasses for navigation, slide rules, rulers, surgical instruments, windmills, spinning wheels, rose water, maps, globes, citrus and nectar fruits, carpets, eyeglasses, curtains, test tubes, porcelain, fine furs, velvet, almanacs, and encyclopedias. So you can see right away that some of the contributions that they have made, that's a legacy in itself. Because we are benefiting from this, and I can go on with the different aspects of
we are shocked
that the Muslims
that enemies of Islam are not just.
And they made it in such a way
we are shocked
that it was used
that enemies of Islam are not showing us sympathy.
Europe to come.
We're saying, look, every day we're claiming, we're protesting. Look, the enemies of deen are not just. Look, the enemies of deen are hypocrites. Look, the enemies of deen are not helping the civilians. Look, they are silent. Look, they are this. What do you expect from your enemy? Why is it that you are expecting your enemy to look after your deen? It's exactly A funny example, imagine someone in a boxing ring. He enters the boxing ring against an opponent, he's fighting with him, and then he gets punched. So instead of fighting back, he goes to the audience and says, look, he just punched me, that's unfair. Why is he punching me for? Why is he violent? Habibi, he is your enemy, he is trying to destroy your deen. Enemies of Islam are not after your money. They're not after your infrastructure, they're after your deen. They come in different forms, they wear different suits, they talk different languages, but they want Islam. They know that the biggest enemy they have in life is this deen. So don't be shocked, you should not be amazed when you find injustice in the world. You should not be amazed when enemies of Islam don't look after you. It is shocking that we want them to look after us. It is shocking that we are expecting them to be just and fair. This itself is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept. That you want the enemies of Islam to look after you and serve your deen and be just and fair. This will never
for blessing
happen.
us with this deen, the deen of Islam. We praise the Almighty Lord for blessing us with the two sources of Islam, the only two sources of Islam, the Quran and the Sunnah, two sources full of knowledge and wisdom that shed light in our darkest hours. No other sources are required, are ever needed for all eternity, for they are indeed perfect, excellent and complete. The sources of Islam, the Quran and the Sunnah. When a Muslim understands the definition, the meaning of this, and he engraves it onto his heart, and he allows it to penetrate his soul, he will certainly, without any doubt, be always in high esteem, happy, content, knowing that nothing or no one can ever crack his faith. Listen to the saying of Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullah alayh, reported by Ibn Qayyim, his student, rahmatullah alayh. He said that Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned, what can my enemies do to me? In my breast is both my heaven and my garden. If I travel, they travel with me, and they never ever leave me. Imprisonment for me, it is no other than a religious retreat, to be slain by my enemies. For me, it is no other than shahada, martyrdom in the sake of the Almighty Lord. To be banished, exiled, thrown out of my land is no other than a spiritual journey, siyaha. What a beautiful saying. If we understood this meaning,
made of clay,
nothing can ever bother you in this world.
made of light, and a third made of fire.
Now, the jinn were created on the earth before human beings.
Of the final day,
Allah mentioned
the master of the appointed day, the master of the true day that will come, the promised day, the end of the world, and the day of judgment. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, "Ad-dunya mal'una," the world is cursed. Al-la'an means the person who is exiled from the mercy of Allah. They will not receive the mercy of Allah in the hereafter, and Allah will destroy the world on them. Jibreel alayhi salam dies, Israfil, Mikael and Malak al-Maut, the angel of death. They will all die. People will be gathered on the day of judgment together, barefooted and naked, the same way their mothers gave birth to them. Listen to the description here. The eyesight, the sight, these eyes, when you look at them, staring, تَشْخَصُ فِيهِ الْأَبْصَارِ. The description here is terrifying about looking at a person, these victimizers. You'll see them, their eyes will be looking and staring in absolute terror. They won't even blink. They have hearts that will feel like it's not inside of them anymore, it's outside. You know, like, can't explain it. When a person's so frightened, you feel your heart reaches your throat, Allah is in a state of anger. We cannot describe this anger, for it is not an anger like ours. There is nothing like him. Behold, Allah takes an oath. You shall be resurrected, you shall be raised, and you will be informed about everything you used to do. Everything. All the ones who were in the beginning of the creation, and all the ones who are at the end of the creation.
Some people enter into magic because of doubts in their hearts. Some enter into magic because of their desires, and this is the majority. Sometimes people are lured into practicing magic because they enter into things like, for example, they get involved in tricks of the hand. Maybe it's a simple putting something under the sleeve and it comes out of the other side, and then they want more, like a drug addict. More and more. It's not enough to simply make a coin disappear in their hand and appear in the other hand. Then it has to be more and more and more until they go into things, maybe perhaps they go into a Ouija board or something like this, which involves calling upon the shaitan, and then once the shaitan gets hold of them, they go into it further and further. Some people are lured innocently into the practice of magic by reading books in which it says, try this, this is a particularly good thing, this will make your wife love you, this will make your husband love you, this will destroy your enemies, write these things, say these things, do these actions. So people come into magic in different ways.
Sister, this is a woman who never heard of sins. Last night when you came in, now I sleep here alone, and when I was reading my book, I got whispers in myself. Something, I got urgency inside myself. Something said to me, just go up to her, just sleep with her, go and ask her if she's alright. She's so nice, go make friends with her. That's what came into my heart. And I said to myself, okay, if you talking to his body, if you can take this fire, then fine, I'll go and sleep with it, because the fire of Jahannam is going to be at least this hot. So he put his finger there and he burnt it. He said, okay, you can't take this fire. How are you going to take a fire that's 70 times more hotter than this? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Kept on telling himself. Because look, you know when you're alone, that's when shaitan's got you. And he kept on giving waswas all night. Every time he really had that urge, he put his finger over it and he said, go on, take it, go and tell me you can take it. And he burned himself.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends the surah
in the morning
by talking about the people who will be protected from the horrors of the Day of Judgment. The people who will be protected from these predicaments and these difficulties in this situation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them by saying, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. That most definitely those people, the ones who آمَنُوا, who first of all believed, and then they further strengthened their belief, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they did good deeds. So they didn't just claim to believe. They didn't just say we're believers. They didn't just say آمَنَّا, but then they backed it up. And they did good, righteous deeds and actions. Amilu salihat. You know, for us, there's a very practical realization of that. And that's what's basically stated in not just some hadith, this is alluded to, but many of the scholars have always stated this, that for us the prayer, the 5 times daily prayer, the salah, is faith manifest. Salah is faith manifest. It's easy to say, I'm a believer, I believe. But then when I take a break from whatever's going on in my day, 5 times a day, and I stand up before Allah and I pray and I offer my salah, now that is faith, that is real faith, that's faith manifest, it's practical, it's real, it's tangible. It shows, I'm living it, not just claiming it, but living it. And that's exactly what it is.
This angel is such that he does not blink. Why? Fearing that he'll miss the command of Allah. And when he blows through the horn, the Himalayas, the K2, the Everest, they will come to an end. The hadith of Abu Huraira comes to mind, that the earth will shake, and the earth will shake in such a manner, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You will see, it will be like a vessel in the middle of the ocean getting battered by tornadoes. The horn is so terrifying. Allahu Akbar. You will see a mother who's got a baby in her stomach. When she hears the horn, she will miscarry a baby. Why? Because the sound of the horn is so terrifying. That child who's only 10 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old, his face will turn wrinkly, his hair will turn white, he will look like a person who's over 100. Why? Because this is the day of reckoning. And when this is taking place, the mother who's got a child, she on that day will remember that she had a child.